All right. If there was a break in the recording there, it was because I had to pee.
Pee break. Sorry,
Shut
guys.
up. All right. So we were just talking, kind of in the interim there, where I had it
Yep.
paused, about like we kind of moved away from the topic, but I kind of that's what I wanted to happen, where I bring up this point as an initial discussion point. We go like, this character is an overpowered character in its story. Does it work well or does it not? And then from there we start discussing the story in general, discussing the character in general. I think a giant elephant in the room that needs to be brought up at this point, though, is the Star Wars prequels and sequels.
Right.
Because the prequels had Anakin Skywalker, and the sequels have Rey What's-Her-Face.
Yep. I haven't seen the what would it be, the eighth movie. I've seen the seventh and the ninth.
I've seen all of them. I have not
Yep.
seen the ninth.
Okay.
I
This
so
is a. By the way, there's going to be spoilers for anyone.
Yeah, yeah. And if anyone actually gives a crap about, or if you haven't seen the prequels at this point, and somehow have avoided all of the memes that spoil everything, because the prequel memes
Baby Yoda.
are amazing. Hey, that is the Mandalorian. That is not the prequels.
This is true. I haven't actually seen it. I actually
I
kind of want
need.
to. Just...
I really want to see the Mandalorian.
Shit, maybe we should watch The Mandalorian at some point.
All right, that's the next one.
For the next talk.
We'll watch the Mandalorian and talk about that. But no, prequels and sequels. Full disclosure, I've seen episode 1 through 8. I have not watched 9. I'm waiting for it to either be free on Netflix
Okay.
or to, I don't know, have a friend that is stupid enough to buy it and then show it to me.
Alright, I'm cool with you talking about episode 8, even though I haven't seen it.
Okay.
And I will not talk about episode 9.
So let's start with the prequels, because we've both seen those, right?
Yep.
So Anakin Skywalker, I want to start off by saying I think he's an example of an overpowered character done well. And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, he's the same way I was talking about that character from Name of the Wind. Like, he's overpowered, and him being overpowered ends up destroying his life. Like, he ends up almost killing his pregnant wife. He tries to attack his mentor. He slaughters children, kills a bunch of Jedi. I just slapped my desktop when I was talking because I talk with my hands.
Because what?
I talk with my hands.
Oh, right. So I think it's pants.
When I'm talking, like I'm waving my hands around and stuff. So I whacked my desktop with my knuckles. But
Yeah.
But the point being, like, his being overpowered, it honestly, it ends up screwing him over, because he thinks he can handle everything himself. He doesn't end up trusting the people that are actually trying to help him and give him good advice.
I mean,
He makes desperate moves. I mean, what are your thoughts?
he does. I mean, as fucked as his life becomes, he lives a damn fine life. You know, in the first half, I'm gonna divide it into two halves of his life, even though they're not even half. First half of his life, okay. Well, I mean,
Well, he starts off as a slave.
Yeah,
Let's be
it gets
real.
better from the
Let's be
beginning.
real. He starts off as a slave.
from the moment he's picked up by Qui-Gon,
Yeah.
right? He gets power over everybody else. He gets the girl he's always wanted. He almost gets a family. I mean, he does get a family.
Well, yeah, yeah. He just doesn't.
A disconnected family.
Yeah.
He goes off with his boy Palp. It is in charge of like a massive army. I don't know if you've read the comics, but it's kind of like the fill-in bits. But he does
No.
fuck up a few times.
Yeah, any of
He
the
gets
Clone Wars
promoted
stuff.
and promoted again.
Yeah.
The whole idea was that with every Sith Lord, whenever a Sith Lord takes on a trainee, the idea is that the trainee is meant to then kill their master and take the master's place.
That I know from, like, I played the Knights of the Old Republic games,
Right.
and that's a big theme in those games. So I knew about that. It
Yeah.
originated, by the way, from a Sith Lord named Bane.
Oh no, not more Bane! God damn it!
There's a third Bane.
Okay, yeah. Not Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Oh my god.
Um, but yeah, but Palpatine is his plan has always been to try and break that chain by he's essentially trying to make himself immortal.
Mm.
And I won't say any more about that because it does uh, influence part of the final film.
Okay, so like, yeah, me having not read the comics, that probably has a
Yeah,
lot to. But
that's the point. But go on.
I was just gonna say that does lead into my point though. Like, he came from being a slave to being somebody that's hoisted onto this galactic stage and having insane influence, and having this
Yeah.
person who is essentially the chancellor of trillions and trillions of people suddenly taking an interest in him.
Do you think
And
he redeemed himself? Sorry,
do I think he redeemed himself? Well,
I thought you finished.
if we're talking about the original movies, yeah. But um, in terms of the movies that, like, the prequel movies, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like let me give you a second to organize my thoughts. No, he literally took every opportunity that was handed to him and clutched them. Like, he was so afraid to lose any of these things that he'd gained, because he'd lost his mother. You know, he didn't have his freedom when he was a child. Like, he had no money, no nothing. He had nothing as a child. And then suddenly, as an adolescent, he had gained this status as a Jedi. He had jumped up onto this galactic stage. He was a general in the Clone Wars and everything. Well, not a general, but, like, you know, somebody who actually had some sort of a sway. But then he loses his mother, which is one of the only things he's had for his entire life.
Yeah. Even
And
since he was a slave. Yeah.
I feel like he was somebody who was insanely powerful, but deeply insecure, and that was the character flaw that really made him interesting throughout those movies.
And okay, what are the other things that? Okay, also I'm sure I'm butchering the Star Wars lore. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes. Um, and I all of this information I have is
Oh,
from.
no. Believe me, I don't want anyone listening to this to think, even for a moment, that we are even remotely professional.
No, take everything with a pinch of salt. So there was this YouTube channel I was watching a while back, and he was going through a lot of the Star Wars comics. I haven't read the comics myself, but he does it very well. And one of the comics was of an Imperial officer, not an Imperial officer even, basically someone who always looked, this woman who always looked up to Darth Vader, and she idolized him, and then she had feelings for him, and then she managed to become his, like, half and half assistant. And in her head, it was a whole thing, like, she was, like, collecting pieces of Darth Vader that had fallen off during battle and stuff like that.
Oh,
It's pretty
God.
fucked
She's
up.
a fucking fangirl.
Right, of Darth Vader. And
Yeah.
finally, it gets to the end of this, like, this whole comic of, this whole short story of her idolizing this guy, and she goes into his chamber at the end, which is a big no-no. Walks into his chamber, and she's like, I love you, kind of stuff. And then he just cuts her the shit down right there and then. Doesn't even say anything, I don't think. Steps over her body and walks out. And that's the whole comic. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
Why-
He's not even, like, after women anymore. He's still very much set, has the same ideals as when
I
he
can't,
became Darth Vader.
I can't help but feel like that's the sort of complex that's developed when you. So, like, you hear all kinds of stories, right, about people who in history have gone from like very, very impoverished beginnings, and they jump up and suddenly they're on top of a big pile. They're on top of a company. They're on top of a government. They're on top of something, right?
Yeah.
And they make massive abuses of power. And I think like Anakin Skywalker is a really good example of this, because he went from being like a 9-year-old slave to being like essentially a Sith Lord in the course of 10 years. And like he went from his world being that one junkyard to his world being an entire galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sort of up jump kind of distorted his perspective. So I could see that totally happening. Like somebody who, he's at that point he's just jaded to these individual little people because they're just pawns. There's little specks on this massive galaxy that is his.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's my thought, but so now we go to the opposite end of the spectrum, which I find it funny that they kind of blanketed this, right, or sandwiched it.
Oh, but wait, just before we go off with the topic.
Yeah.
The most powerful character in Star Wars. Jar Jar Binks. All right, now we can move on.
I love, by the way, we can't move on from that quickly. I love the fan theory of Darth Jar Jar.
Right?
I love that fan theory.
There was actually some, like, I think there was something canon.
Oh, there's
Jar Jar turning fucking psycho.
So the theory, because I fucking love this theory. I would have loved this to have actually been true. The theory is that all of the bumbling goofs that Jar Jar does is just a disguise, and if you watch the movie carefully, like he's secretly using the Force to change everything. Like every time some convenience happens in the plot, he's waving his hand, or he's like swinging an arm or something like that. Like he's influencing events, and he's really a Sith Lord. And I love that theory. I absolutely love that theory. All right. I had to say that before we moved on. Okay. So on the other side of the spectrum, honestly, probably the more controversial side of the spectrum, the sequels.
Right.
I think they're a pretty profound example of how to do an overpowered character wrong.
Which overpowered characters?
I'm talking.
You're talking about Rey.
Yeah, I'm talking about Rey. And the reason, so there's reason behind this, right? So like Anakin, he's overpowered from when he was a kid, right? Like he can fly a speeder, he's got Force sensitivity, he can blow up starships and stuff when he's 9 years old. Yeah, he's overpowered.
Yeah.
But he has flaws, and that overpowered thing, like he develops in a very human way. Like they used him being brutally overpowered in a way that sort of told a story about hubris, right? But when I look at the way that Rey was handled, it's the exact opposite. They've got a character who, right off the bat, never been trained in anything. She can fly spaceships like perfectly. She can, use lightsabers and defeat trained Force users. She can, I don't know. Luke Skywalker looked like he was gonna pop a hernia when he pulled a lightsaber out of an icicle, but she can use the Force to blow up spaceships and shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I mean is and the other thing is her power never seems to affect her, right?
Right.
Even if she was that powerful, right? Like she's some kind of a singularity in the Force. She's the most powerful being known to me. She's a god among other humans.
Well, hang on, wait. Do you know anything about her origin?
Yeah. She's supposed to be the daughter of Palpatine.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So just like
yeah. And again, that's a good explanation. My problem is that when like, I think that's a really good concept. Like, you know, the villain of the previous films has a daughter who becomes the protagonist of the sequels. That's a really good idea. It's a good concept for a story. My problem is that she is never affected by her power in any way. Like, she is essentially a saint and a nun from the beginning. Like, she has all of this power, all of this ability, all of this potential. And it doesn't change her. It doesn't affect her. She just remains a emotionless plank.
Yeah, I always... right. I think this is nothing on the actor. I think she played a very forgettable role, which for a main character is not brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
when Anakin Skywalker looks at you, there's like a fucking crackle in the air. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
he's dressed in the fucking black gi.
yeah, sorry, I have to interrupt you. His romance scenes were cringy as balls, but
Oh yeah,
his angry, you got the teenage angst out of him. That was what he was supposed to be.
And the real fucking fury. You could feel it. The emotion that he portrayed.
Yeah.
And that, including when he became evil then, like when he went full Vader.
Yeah.
You knew what was underneath the mask.
Dude,
you knew everything that drove him.
I got fucking...
Go on.
I got chills when he fucking choked Padme. Like, at the end of the third movie, because it's like, dude, that's your wife. You fucking...
We're not talking about the romance scene again, are we?
No. I'm talking in the third movie of the prequels, where, like, she's trying to bring him back. She's trying to go, like, I have your child. Like, you're a better person than this. Stop. And he just attacks her.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I'm thinking of movies now.
The problem is that they have this amazing villain, and even Palpatine, pretty fucking... You don't get much more evil than that.
Yeah.
And then, oh God, this fucking milksop, this Simon Cowell ass child. I can't take him seriously. From the moment I saw his goddamn... Oh my God.
Wait.
He's got like trousers pulled up to his fucking tits.
Who are we talking about?
Kylo Ren.
Oh,
also
Kylo
a
Ren.
dumb name, by the way. And
Yeah.
his face is just... It's like a young Snape. That you could
Oh my God, you're right. He does look like Snape.
Like a really young Snape. He's not a good villain. He's not. I'm sorry.
Well, I kind of respect the way that they were trying to work things out. And again, this may have been bad directing, this may have been bad acting, or a combination of both. But the idea was to have, like, Rey. She's like the overpowered Neo Luke Skywalker figure, right?
I thought you were going to say neo-Nazi.
Fucking hell. Neo Luke Skywalker figure. And then they've got Kylo Ren, who is this tormented, like, quasi Anakin figure, who's like not only like tormented by what happened in his past, but tormented by trying to live up to the image of Vader, right?
He has uncle issues.
The thing is,
he has fucking uncle issues.
There's so much potential in that. Like, she could have been like this, you know, like between like OP girl and OP, like, so OP girl Skywalker and OP like quasi Vader. There could have been like some kind of a real conflict there. And then the fact that they actually start to develop some sort of a dynamic between the two of them, like, that could have been a whole nother level of dynamic. But whoever was, I don't know if it was the writing, the directing, or what, but it didn't come together. This has become like just a rant about the Star Wars sequels, by the way.
Yeah, this is half an hour of Star Wars on its own. We could just... This is its own thing right now, okay?
We've just completely gone off the... All right.
Right.
Well,
Go.
all right. Let's wrap this concept up, and there's one more thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
All right, so to wrap up my thoughts on the Star Wars prequels and sequels. Prequels, and specifically talking about Anakin Skywalker as the OP character.
There's something else I want to talk about, but go on.
All right, no, you can go into it. But to wrap up my thoughts on this particular topic, Anakin Skywalker, he was an overpowered character handled correctly because he had flaws, and he actually, like, I don't know, he paid consequences for those flaws. Like, you could see him developing, and you could see where his character went wrong in the head, and could see this twisted nature growing in him, and see how he got manipulated around, like, by the people around him. Sequels, Rey, she was insanely overpowered, but they never gave her any flaws. They never gave her any human qualities. Like, she was just unflappable for the entire series. And it just kind of lost me. I'm like, she's just she's just a mannequin that everything goes right for. I had no ability to give a crap about her after that. All right. So, what was this last thing that you were talking about?
Okay, so with a lot of characters in the Star Wars universe, you kind of know where everyone stands. So, like, if you use the word Jar Jar Binks, everyone hates Jar Jar Binks. I don't hate him. A lot of people hate Jar Jar Binks.
I have no problem with Jar Jar. I thought he was fucking hilarious.
Right? And that alone will make all the viewers just fuck off out of it. Chewbacca, everyone loves Chewbacca.
Oh, yeah.
You can't hate Chewbacca. Something I thought was really, really cool. It was like a child's dream, which I was at the time. General Grievous. Didn't have the emotion of Darth Vader. God damn, was he ever cool?
Alright.
Oh.
I need to... Alright, so General Grievous as a character, I did not give a crap about.
Really?
But General Grievous as, like, I don't know. When I saw him as a kid, I thought he was cool for the same reason that I thought, like, you know, Lego Mindstorms was cool. Like, I was like, oh man, like he was cool from, like, a mechanical and, like, technical perspective.
Yeah. It's like someone was like, all right, ask a kid, what's awesome to you? And the kid would just be like, a
robot,
cybernetic guy with a tank for a head and lasers shooting out of its ass.
Yeah.
That's what's cool.
Exactly.
That's what Grievous is.
He's, like, from a storytelling perspective, he's kind of lazy. Like, that's my read on that. But I mean,
he does have some interesting background.
Okay, so that's different. When you get into his background and you start talking about him when you're in the comic book and sort of stuff like that, yes, he has an interesting background story. But when you see him in the movies, he's just like, who is this, you know, robot tarantula with a billion lightsabers?
He's Geonosian, right?
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be Geonosian.
He's a
but like
one
most,
of the pathetic looking fly guys.
Yeah.
And they put him in armor, and they gave him these just beautiful. And I wish they'd gotten more into that, because it's literally turning one of the most pathetic looking creatures, evil creatures, don't get me wrong, in the galaxy into this Jedi crushing monster.
He was a character that definitely needed more definition, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I've read into some of his backstory since then. Like, when I watched the movie, we actually, so my high school friends and I, we used to do machinima videos, and one of the characters, we did a parody of the Star Wars prequels back in high school, and one of the characters we had was General Grievous, and the joke was that he had asthma, and like every 5 seconds he could never finish a single line. He just started hacking and coughing.
Yeah, grabs the inhaler.
Yeah, exactly. It was a cheap joke, but I mean that was the impression that I feel like a lot of people got when they watched the movies, because his character was not fleshed out nearly enough.
Yeah. Yeah, they could talk about like all the probably horrible genetic experience. I don't actually know that much about him, to be honest. I don't know. But there's so much potential there. I'm assuming he had some kind of gene therapy. And that's probably what makes him sick.
Yeah.
Because there was a comic where Grievous was holding a bunch of Padawan, and I think he was trying to turn them into something like him. I don't know whether that was just make them Sith or make them into a literal like Geonosian hybrid thing.
This is now the StarCraft the Star Wars podcast hour.
Well, yes,
but I mean you're not wrong. I think I remember reading something where like he was perfectly functional, like he didn't have the cough or anything like that, and some Force user or something like crushed his like chest thing,
really?
And it damaged his like organic bits, and that's why he constantly coughs.
Not my organic bits. Oh shit! Sorry, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah. We should wrap it up. There's one very last thing that I want to bring up,
okay.
And we're going back to literature for this one, and that's Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
And this is one of the only characters I could think of that was... So Sherlock Holmes is overpowered in the sense that he always figures everything out. Like, overpowered in the... Because there are other things about his character that are, again, flawed. He uses cocaine. He does not give a crap about anyone else around him. Completely lacking in empathy. He's essentially a sociopath.
Yeah, as they talk about that in the TV series.
Yeah. The TV... Don't get me started on the TV series.
Yeah. But he is essentially omniscient.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to think. You know that Sherlock is never going to die. They even killed him, and then he's...
They did. I read the book.
Not dead.
I've read all of the Sherlock Holmes novels.
I'm referring to the TV series, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've not read the books, sadly.
I've read all of the short stories and all of the novels.
Yeah. I have listened to some of them on... I think it was Audible. It might have been actually just a straight-up tape when I was a kid.
Oh, my God. Honestly, hold up. I think it's probably a good place to stop. This is not really something that's going to have a whole lot of purchase, so...
Yeah, after that old Star Wars rant.
Yeah. Alright, so... Wrapping up then. we originally started this segment thinking we were going to get 20 to 30 minutes of... I don't know, discussion about character archetypes, specifically the archetype of a overpowered character, and here we are somewhere approximating 60 minutes later, having just ranted and talked about not only overpowered character types but just like the stories that are built around them in general.
A regular Saturday night with the boys.
The Boys is another very good series.
What?
Hey, have you never seen it? All right. No, I'm not going to start this now.
Okay.
It's a series that you probably should watch.
Okay.
Any closing thoughts before we end it here?
Praise be to Jar Jar Binks. I mean...
Honestly, I just want
to... Do we... What? Okay. Close it.
I honestly just
want
want
to... Of all the people we've talked about, who's the most fucking powerful? That's the last thing that I'm going to say.
who is the most fucking powerful? I think it's
Yeah.
also the person who's the most fucking generic. It's gonna be fucking Superman.
Yeah, literally is. All right, cool. That's it.
All right. See you next time.